The storm had passed, but the air hung thick and wet, like the town was holding its breath. Colin sat in his car, the engine idling low, headlights casting long, broken shadows against the trees. Across the street stood the house, partially hidden by the creeping mist that always seemed to gather after a heavy rain. The Ridge Lane property looked untouched, unchanged, as if it had been waiting for them to return, as if it never left the night, frozen in time, when Claire disappeared. He checked his phone for the 4th time. No service, not even a single bar. Typical, he muttered. A tap on the passenger window startled him. It was Jenny. Her hood was down, and her soaked hair clung to her forehead. She opened the door without a word and climbed in, shivering slightly. "You sure about this?" she asked, staring straight ahead at the silhouette of the house. "No," Colin replied, "but we're already in it, all the way in." They hadn't spoken much since the interview with Mr. Heller. Something about the way his voice had cracked when he mentioned the girl with no face had shaken them both. Jenny had replayed the recording later and confirmed something strange. The voice didn't crack, not on the tape. His words were steady, too steady. But when they'd been sitting there in front of him, they both swore it had been different, like something was trying to rewrite the moment. "I found this," Jenny said, pulling a folded piece of paper from her jacket, "in the county archives." Colin took it and opened it carefully. It was a copy of a fire department report, dated July 13th, 1994. The same night the girl vanished from the house, according to the old man. The paper described a structure fire. Small, contained to the basement. Cause unknown. Damage minimal. But then there was a redacted section, a large black bar covering nearly half the page. Jenny pointed to the edge of the redaction. "See that? You can still read the start of the sentence. Remains discovered in the..." And that's where it cuts off. "Human remains?" Colin asked. Jenny nodded slowly. "That's what I think. But there's no police follow-up, no autopsy record, no missing persons report filed in that time frame. It's like the girl existed only in Heller's memory." A long silence passed. "Then why did the fire department come at all?" Colin said aloud, thinking. Jenny shrugged. Maybe someone wanted them to come. The idea chilled them both. He turned off the engine, and the silence that followed was unnaturally quiet. Even the crickets were absent. The whole neighborhood seemed empty. They crossed the street and stepped into the yard. The gravel crunched beneath their feet, and with each step toward the porch, Colin felt like the air got thicker. Not just humid, dense like walking through water. He looked down and noticed the grass was dry again, as if the storm had never happened. Jenny hesitated at the door. "You still have the key?" Colin nodded. The old brass key was cold in his hand, colder than it should have been. He slid it into the lock, expecting resistance, but the door swung open before he even turned it. They exchanged a look. The house was dark inside. Not dark like nighttime. Dark like something had swallowed the light whole. They stepped inside anyway. They crossed the threshold together, but something felt off. The temperature dropped almost immediately. Not the natural kind of cold, but a deep, biting chill that seemed to cling to their skin and move with them. Colin swept the beam of his flashlight across the foyer. Dust floated like ash in the air, catching the light in slow, spiraling dances. The walls looked darker than before. Not aged, stained. Jenny reached out and touched one. Her fingers came back gray. "Is that soot?" she asked. Colin moved the light closer. The wall wasn't just dirty. It was scorched. There were burn marks running along the edges of the molding, curling up around the door frames like black veins. But nothing in the house had burned. Not the wood, not the furniture, just the walls. Maybe from the fire in the report, he said. But the fire was in the basement, Jenny whispered. Why would it leave these marks upstairs? Colin didn't have an answer. They moved deeper into the house, each step muffled. The air felt muted, like the whole structure had been soundproofed from the world. Jenny checked the recorder clipped to her jacket, the same one they'd used with Mr. Heller. I want to see if it picks anything up, she said, pressing record. They walked in silence, letting the mic capture the quiet hum of the house. Then they heard it, a faint click, like an old camera shutter. Jenny spun. Did you hear that? Colin raised his flashlight, sweeping behind them. Nothing. No movement. No shadows. Just the hallway they'd just come through. Click. There it was again, slightly louder this time. Upstairs, Jenny said. I swear it came from above us. She was right. A slow, rhythmic creaking began from the floor above, like footsteps, but too slow, too even, almost mechanical. Neither of them wanted to go up, but they didn't turn around either. They found the staircase just as they had weeks before. Only now there was something new. Halfway up the banister, hanging from the railing by a piece of twine, was a Polaroid, faded and yellowing. Colin plucked it free and turned it toward the flashlight. It showed a girl, maybe 12, maybe 13, standing at the bottom of the same staircase. Her hair was long, parted to the side, and her eyes were blacked out, not scratched or inked. They were simply gone, as if the film had failed to capture them. Jenny's voice was a hush. Is that her? Colin didn't answer. He tucked the photo in his pocket and started up the stairs. They reached the second floor. The creaking stopped. They passed by each room, one after the other, until they reached the far door at the end of the hallway. The bedroom, Claire's room. The door was ajar. Jenny took a step forward, but Colin put out an arm. Wait. He bent down and picked something up from the floor just outside the room. Another Polaroid. This one was darker. It showed the same girl, but this time she was lying on a bed. This bed, with her face turned away, her arms limp. There was a figure standing in the corner of the room, tall, shadowed, no face, just darkness. Jesus, Colin breathed. He could feel his heart racing. Jenny opened the bedroom door the rest of the way, slow and careful. Inside, the room was untouched. The bed was made. The curtains, sheer and delicate, fluttered in the still air. A single beam of moonlight cut through the window, falling across the floor and revealing something else. A third photo. It lay perfectly centered in the beam of light. Jenny picked it up before Colin could stop her. This one was blank, completely white, except in the bottom right corner, where someone had written a date in shaky pencil, August 6th, 2025. Today, the moment held. Then the closet door slammed open. Jenny screamed. Colin dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the floor, throwing erratic beams around the room. Shadows danced wildly. The closet was empty, absolutely empty, but they both felt it. Something had stepped into the room. Colin retrieved the flashlight. Jenny had backed up to the wall, clutching the blank photo. Her breathing was sharp and shallow. Colin approached the closet slowly, heart pounding in his chest. He swept the light inside. Nothing. Then he turned around and saw the mirror. It hadn't been there before. Leaning against the far wall was an old, full-length mirror with a gold frame. The glass was cloudy, like it had been kept in storage for decades. Colin stepped closer. So did Jenny. The reflection showed them, yes. But behind them stood the girl, her eyes still void, her mouth a smear of black, hands at her sides. But when they turned around, she wasn't there. They looked back at the mirror. Now the girl was closer. Her head was tilted, her expression unreadable. Colin reached forward and touched the glass. It was warm. The surface shimmered under his fingers, and for a brief second, less than a breath, he felt her, like something pushing back from the other side. "Colin," Jenny said. Her voice was barely audible. "Let's go. Right now." He didn't argue. They left the room quickly, not looking back. But as they reached the stairs, a sound followed them. A low, dragging noise like bare feet on wood. Back outside, the night was still. The air warm again. The neighborhood looked like any other suburb. Ordinary and safe. The silence was only broken by the distant sound of wind through leaves. But something had followed them out. They didn't speak for several blocks. Colin gripped the steering wheel tighter than he realized. Jenny sat next to him with her arms crossed, not in defiance, in fear. Her eyes stayed locked on the rearview mirror, as if expecting to see someone, or something, seated behind them. It wasn't until they were halfway back to her apartment that she finally said it. "You felt it too, didn't you? That thing in the mirror?" Colin nodded. It was like it knew I was there, like it had been waiting. Jenny turned the Polaroid over in her hands again, the one with today's date. It was still blank. No image had appeared, no shadowy figure, no girl. "I think it's a warning," she said, "or maybe a placeholder." Colin glanced at her. "A placeholder?" She nodded slowly, then whispered, "For someone else's picture." A chill ran down his spine. They pulled into her apartment complex and walked to her door. It was nearly 2 a.m., but every hallway light buzzed overhead, as if trying too hard to prove it wasn't afraid of the dark. Inside, Jenny collapsed onto the couch. Colin paced. "You remember that static sound we picked up back in the house?" she asked. He nodded. "You mean the one we couldn't hear until we replayed it?" "I ran it through my laptop just now. I filtered the low tones and reversed the waveform." She turned the screen toward him. There was an audio file open. A visual wave shimmered across the screen, jagged, uneven. Jenny pressed play. At first there was only static. Then something emerged beneath it. A whisper. "She belongs to the house." The voice was slow, dragging, as if the speaker had no lungs and was pushing the words through centuries of dust. Then another voice layered underneath, clearer, panicked. "Don't let her in! Don't let her in!" Then silence. Jenny stopped the recording. "I think it's the girl from the photos," she said. "I think she's trapped in there. And I think someone else, maybe from the film crew, tried to stop this before." Colin dropped into the chair across from her. His mind reeled. The mirror, the photos, the scorched walls, the voices. "What if she's not the only one in that house?" he said. Jenny looked up. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then stood. "What if she is the house?" She stared at him. Colin continued, his thoughts racing now. The photos, the whispers, that mirror. It's like the house isn't haunted by her. It's become her. It holds people, traps them in time. We thought Claire was just gone. But what if she's still there, just erased? Jenny's hands trembled slightly. So what now? We just stay away and pretend it doesn't exist? Colin was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "No. We go back." Jenny recoiled. "Are you serious?" "There's more to this. The film crew in 2003, the fire in 1994, and now Claire. There's a pattern. Someone needs to break it." "And you think it's us?" she said. "I think," Colin said carefully. "We might already be in it." That night, Colin didn't sleep. He laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, every creak in the walls sounding like a footstep, every draft of air like a breath from something not quite human. When he finally drifted off, his dreams were shallow, fragmented. He saw Claire standing at the end of a hallway, her mouth moving but no words escaping. A camera flash went off, then another, then blackness. He awoke at dawn with sweat clinging to his skin. His phone buzzed. It was Jenny. One message. The photo developed. When he arrived at her place, she was already waiting by the kitchen table, her hands flat against the wood like she was bracing for impact. The Polaroid sat between them, no longer blank. The photo now showed the front of the Ridge Lane house. It was night. The porch light was on. A shadow, long, stretched, stood just outside the door, hand extended toward the knob. Its head was tilted. Its eyes were black voids. And just behind the figure, partially obscured in the reflection of the window, was Colin. He stepped back. Jenny looked up. "That's from last night, when we went in. I never took this." Colin said nothing. He couldn't, because now, just beneath the image, scrawled in the same shaky handwriting as before, was a new message. The door was opened. Now she walks free.